we're going to look at ions in this video. Ions are a type of particle, and the different ions have to do with a different number of electrons. We know from a previous video that electrons have got a relative charge of -1. They've got a charge. But their mass is pretty well zero. It's negligible. So this isn't going to affect the mass of the particle when they have a different number of electrons, but it will affect the charge. So to illustrate this, I'm going to make a little atom. So here we have 4 protons in the nucleus, and that's got to be balanced by 4 electrons around the outside. This is really simple, obviously. I've not shown the neutrons in the nucleus because they don't affect the charge. And I've not shown the electron shells, but this is just to show that for an atom, the number of positive protons has got to be balanced by the number of negative electrons. So I've got a charge of +4 in the middle, and a charge of -4 on the outside, so they cancel each other out and there's no charge overall. That's what atoms are like. However, you can imagine, because electrons are so tiny, and because they're on the outside of the atom, that we could take an electron away. If we did that, we now have a charge of 4+ in the middle, but only 3- on the outside. So overall, we have a charge of +1, because we've got 1 more proton than electron. So what's happened here is we've lost electrons. So if you lose electrons, and we have made a positively charged particle, and we call that a positive ion. The other name for that is called a cation. Here's another situation. If we had, go back to our atom, which has got 4 positive protons in the nucleus and 4 negative electrons around the outside, what if we could add another electron on? If that happened, we've now got more negative electrons than positive protons. So overall, our atom or our ion now is going to have a negative charge because there's more negative particles than positive particles. So what just happened here is we have gained electrons, and we've made a negative ion. The other name for this is an anion. To help you remember, you could remember that cats are positive if you like cats. I don't particularly like cats, so it doesn't really work for me. But cations are positive, and you could remember that onions are sad because they make you cry. And anion is a little bit like the word onion. So that's a way to remember it if it helps. We can work out the number of protons and electrons in ions. So here's an example. If we are given 2 ions, if we are given Li+, and if we are given O2-, for example. If we look at Li+, first of all, it's lithium. So to find the number of protons, we just look at lithium on the periodic table, and it's 3. So this has got 3 protons. What about the number of electrons? Well, this has got a positive charge, and there's no number, which means +1. So if it's positive, it's because it's lost electrons. And there's no number, so it's lost 1 electron. So the number of electrons, it was 3, but it's lost 1. So now the number of electrons is 2. That's what a lithium ion is. If we take oxygen, O2-, this is called an oxide ion. And if we look for oxygen on our periodic table, we see that it's got 8 protons. Now it's got a charge of 2-. If it's a negative charge, then that must be because it's gained extra electrons. It originally had 8, but it's gained 2. That's what the number 2 tells us. So we've got 8 + 2. We've now got 10. I should say E. We've got 10 electrons. Last example of something we could do is we could be told the number of protons and electrons, and we could work out what the ion is. So for example, if we are told there is an ion that's got 13 protons and 10 electrons, what is it? We can look at our periodic table. 13 protons. What's got an atomic number of 13? Aluminium. So it must be an aluminium ion. And then 10 electrons. So this is lost electrons. It's lost 3. So it must be a cation, a positive ion. And it's lost 3. So it's going to have a charge of 3 plus, always number, then charge. So there you go. That's our definitions. We know that ions are charged particles that are formed when atoms lose or gain electrons. And we know how to work out the number of protons and electrons inside different ions.